Welcome, and thanks for joining us today for our 30th episode of the Restaurant Dealmaker Show, where we discuss pertinent topics regarding food and beverage industry with industry professionals. My guest co-hosts today are Keith Simpson, Restaurant Realty's top agent, who I've had the pleasure of working with for the past almost 13 years, and who is formerly a restaurant owner and bar owner. Our other co-host today is Vivianne Borges, who is the former co-owner of the famous Paris Bakery in Monterey and Seaside wholesale business in Seaside. I asked Keith to join us today as a co-host because he was the one responsible for selling Vivianne's business a few months ago. Vivianne grew up in France and moved to the United States when she was a sophomore in high school. She worked in the bakery during her high school years, washing dishes and cleaning the restrooms. In 1996, Vivianne joined the family business full-time, learning the wholesale end of the business, as well as immersing herself in the accounting end of the business, including growing the accounts receivable part of the business. In 1998, the family opened the Seaside operations, which was the wholesale part of the business, and Vivianne was instrumental in expanding this part of the business. Her experience grew, including doing the books, payroll, purchasing, and inventory control. Additionally, she oversaw general management, including scheduling, training, hiring, and firing personnel. Although Vivianne's father started the business and used old school methods in operating the business, Vivianne transformed the business with a more modern management approach. She enjoys the customers and the day-to-day relationships she has had with customers, employees, and vendors. She has a keen sense in dealing with people and knows how to capitalize on employees' strengths. She is very organized, open-minded, and believes in being fair with all the people she encounters. Vivianne shared with me that she excited for her dad and herself to start the next chapter of their lives and be able to spend more time with their family. Without any further introduction, I'm going to turn it over to Keith, who is responsible for this whole experience. Keith?
Hi, Steve. Thank you very much. And hi, Vivianne. Great to see you again. I know we've spoken a lot over the, 18 months it probably was to sell the business in total. But it's really a pleasure to see you again and have you starring in this show because it's your show, not mine. And it's amazing this is the 30th because actually I was on the first. So that is 2.5 years ago, this show has been running every single month. So I'm going to kick off how did we meet, Vivianne? How did we meet?
I think we did a Zoom with my attorney that had recommended you. So that's how we met first, and via Zoom. And then after we met in person at the bakery.
And how did your attorneys know about either Restaurant Realty Company or myself?
I think they looked up different places and they found you and the company and sorry, I'm like, okay, maybe we start that over. They found you and the company and then they read a lot of reviews about you specifically.
Yikes. Okay, well, that's good. That's good.
You must have had your publicist at work.
I don't
know. you pay him well, right?
Steve, it's your turn.
Okay. Vivianne, since your father was an integral part of starting and operating the business, could you tell us when and how your dad decided to come to the United States? And what were his initial business activities when he arrived here?
So my father had 2 bakeries in the late 70s in Paris. And he divorced my mom. So he decided to move to United States to start new beginning. And he got the opportunity to start being the director of production at Bakers of Paris in 1982. And so he worked there for about 2-3 years. He would go a little bit around California trying to find a bakery for him to purchase. And he found La Maison du Croissant, which was just a small retail bakery in Monterey. And he purchased that and opened it in 1985. So it was really, really small. It was a small storefront, and then the baking were being done in the back, but very, very small.
Amazing. And he's very traditional, isn't he? So when you talk about baking, there's no microwaves or what's the other thing? What's the latest craze with those ovens? Air fryers. He's old school.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you moved from France?
So I was 15 when I moved from France. I would visit from 4.5. When I was 4.5 years old, I started coming to United States just for summers and some holidays to visit my dad. He was very busy at the time. He would work, 16 to 18-hour days. And so I moved here as a teenager and started going to the high school. And I started working after school a little bit on the weekend, help out when I could. And when I graduated high school is when I decided, well, maybe I can, do this a little bit more and help out a little bit more. And it kind of fell into place of me running it, I guess.
Which you eventually did.
Yes.
Steve.
That's cool. So Vivianne, how did your father decide to settle in Monterey? And what was his first business activity in Monterey?
So the reason why he came to Monterey was he was looking for any bakery that would be for sale. So that one was a French bakery. It was actually called Le Montmartre. No, it was called La Maison du Croissant. But when my dad purchased it, he named it Le Montmartre first, which is a neighborhood in Paris. But at the time, there was a grocery store about a couple miles down the road and was called Monty Mart. So when people were calling us or them, it would get confused. So he changed the name to Paris Bakery eventually.
That's cool. That's
Good
cool.
name.
And how did you, did he design the whole space? I mean, how much was there for him, or how much did he change?
So as I said before, it started really small. And so as he grew, when he started the wholesale, he had to get a warehouse in Sen City, and they did all the baking there. So then we were able to get more wholesale accounts, and but the bakery was still the little bakery. And we got the opportunity in 92 to expand to the corner location. So we still had our small little bakery, and the corner location, which was a bicycle shop, was available to take over. So we expanded. So my dad and his wife at the time expanded to the bigger space, I would say, and we kept still the little space. So they remodeled, and we were able to actually get rid of the wholesale company that we had in Sen City and moved all the baking in the back. So it was pretty tight, but they made it happen until I think they did that for about 5-6 years. And then our wholesale location in Seaside, that was available to, I guess, expand because it was getting too tight at the Monterey location. And we got that in 1998.
So the Monterey location, obviously, I've been there a few times. It has a step down at the back. That was the original bakery going into the corner, which was the bicycle shop.
Yep.
I
Correct.
can't imagine how your dad worked in that smaller space, which is like I don't know, what is there, 4 tables in the back? And it obviously, there's customers' tables. And then it goes back further, obviously, where he was baking. But you can't get much equipment in that space compared to what you have today.
Yes, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
So just curious, what percent of your total sales was wholesale versus retail?
At the time or overall?
I mean, your last year of operation.
So I would say 60% 60% retail and 40% wholesale.
Yeah. I know a number of my clients in the Monterey area, use your product and, speak very highly of it. So obviously they're very high quality operations. So that's, a tribute to your quality operation. So what is your favorite part of the hospitality business?
I would say getting to know all the customers and almost becoming a family with them. When they would need anything, they knew who to call, how to, us to, we were never able to say no, especially my dad. When somebody wanted a crazy order or a last minute order, my dad would get frustrated sometimes and he was like, oh, okay, that's fine. No worries. But next time, and we would just kind of be the company that says yes to everything in a way. And all the chefs and cooks and got used to just, having us there all the time. And we were very fair, and all our products were always made from scratch. We didn't use any shortening, preservative, nothing like that. So it was just from scratch. And a lot of it at the end was a lot of organic, especially produce and veggies.
Cool.
Yeah, it's great. I remember when I first met Vivianne, I went into the bakery incognito. Nobody knew who I was, not even Vivianne knew who I was. And I ordered I love almond croissant. So a cappuccino and an almond croissant in the morning is a breakfast of champions. But I'd never had an almond croissant like this. This was just so succulent, so the natural flavor. I mean, it was just gorgeous. So moist, so different to the mainstream, coffee shops that try and sell an almond croissant. It was so good. It was so good. Now,
Vivianne, what made that croissant, that experience that Keith had, so magnificent?
The real butter.
Okay.
That's what it is.
And
yes.
Tender loving care.
Correct. Oh, yes. And freshly baked every day. None of our product, you're not able, because we don't use preservative or additive. Everything is made fresh every day. And I mean, just real butter is the key for sure.
Yeah, really, that croissant, you might as well just be biting into a half a pound pack of butter. But that's
and
how they make
cream. Yes.
That's how they make them in Europe. That's how they are. There's no, as you said, no preservatives. It's so good. So can you bake?
I I think I can. I mean, I'm not a baker. I'm more, I like to cook. So when I was growing up and trying different things at the bakery, my dad would always say, you have to learn to do the deliveries. So you know about the delivery. You have to learn about, the accounting. So I learned to do the accounting every time. And the one thing that he was never able to make me do was bake. And I would always say, well, I want to sleep at night. So he would be doing the baking with my uncle. And actually it was a family affair, all these years. My cousins came from France. My two sisters worked with me. My oldest sister, Angelique, started way before me. And my youngest sister, Stephanie, came along too. My dad's wife was also for many, many years on board every day, showing up with customers and whatnot. So yes.
Real family affair for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you decided to expand the business to Seaside to basically capitalize on the wholesale end of the business. And you when did you do that? And again, what was your major reason for doing this expansion?
So Monterey location was getting very tight in the back because we were doing all the baking there. And the building that we got in Seaside was actually a previous bakery. So it had a lot of equipment. It was called Monterey Baking Company. And they were doing all the wholesale at that location in Seaside. And they had a lot of stores. I think they had 5 or 6 stores throughout the whole Monterey Peninsula. And they actually went out of business. So we came and took over the wholesale department in Seaside, and we were able to do all the bakings from there. We still kept the dessert pastries in Monterey because it was easier to we don't want to transfer this really delicate French pastries that we used to make, and but all the rest of the baking was done in Seaside.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, and just to put it in perspective, Monterey, I don't know what the original was, but when I saw it, Monterey retail was about 2,800 square feet. That's all the baking in the back. That's the dining part, merchandise, counters, cappuccino machines, all the huge amount of shelves behind with all the fresh baked bread, and the counters with all the delicacies in, over 100 different types of pastries and things in there. And Seaside.
What was the ratio? I'm curious, the back of the house, the front of the house, and that 2,800 square feet.
I think the front is pretty big. So I would say well, the back is pretty big too. But the front, I would say half and half.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, because we still Monterey, after we moved the wholesale department, Monterey was able to focus on lots of lunches, and we had actually real cook that, not just bakers, but also cooks, which is pretty ironic. When we started with Monterey with the cooks, they were still there, I have to say. So a lot of our employees that started with us, or for example, when we specialized in the cafe and the lunch stuff for the Monterey location, we hired those cooks, and they're still there working. So
Right, because they're still making soups and sandwiches,
yeah.
Everything to order. Nothing's prepackaged inside the counter. It's all made to order.
Yeah.
And on the weekend, the line goes around the corner.
Yes.
It really does. It's quite a sight. But so you've got 2,800 square feet in Monterey now at this time, but Seaside is like 8,000 to 9,000 square feet.
Correct. Yes.
Massive. So you're talking about a very small retail, because a lot of it is supplied by Monterey, and obviously it supplies itself from behind. So it's a much smaller operation at Seaside, isn't it? But the back of house is at least 7,500 square feet of bakery.
Correct. Yes.
And that's a huge jump to make. You must have been getting bigger orders coming in from around the area. I mean, where were they coming from?
Yes. So I would say the past 20 years, we've been having the main bigger hotels and resorts. So we would have Pebble Beach Company, we'd have Quarry Lodge, Carmel Valley Ranch, a lot of the bigger, we also had the conference center. So every time there was big events or something happening in Monterey Peninsula, those specific customers would order from us. We just had Car Week last week, and I still say we, but Paris Bakery had Car Week, I would say, or Monterey Peninsula had Car Week. And every day there's a different location. So on Sunday was Concours d'Elegance, which is at Pebble Beach. Friday was the Quail, which is at Quarry Lodge. And every day. But all these customers, we have them, Paris Bakery has them. And so we're so slammed, so busy. And all our employees are always there. We say, well, can we do this? And can we do that? Yes. So they always say yes to everything. So it's very, very busy during the week, but that's all our wholesale customers. Also, we had the Naval Postgraduate School as the customers, and we have all the mom and pop's place also. So a lot of the hotels downtown Carmel, and a lot of coffee shops and delis also orders. So when Monterey Peninsula is busy, it's busy all the time.
Wow, sounds like it. So when did you personally take over the wholesale side of the business and take over total business operations?
So in 1998, I'm the one who took care of all the wholesale out of Seaside. I would still go in Monterey and take care of a few things. But my dad and his wife were taking care of Monterey mainly, but I would do all the behind the scene things. And in 2003, my dad and his wife, Sonia, they decided, well, why don't we start having Vivianne do more of the in-house thing, which is the bookkeeping. I was already doing some of the scheduling. I was doing some of the account receivable and little payroll and whatnot. But so I started getting mentored by this amazing bookkeeper. Her name was Joanne. Well, her name's Joanne. And she taught me everything from scratch. So I learned QuickBooks. I learned how to do P&Ls and everything. The only thing I never really wanted to do was the, taxes part of it. So we had a CPA, and she would always do the taxes part of that. So the tax return and all the corporate tax stuff. So, yeah.
Wow.
That's great. And the decision to expand to Seaside, was it a family decision? Your dad's, yours, collectively?
It was my dad. At the time, I was just helping out a lot in Monterey. I was general manager in Monterey, and it was just getting way too tight. So he said, why don't we open Seaside? We'll have a little storefront and, you know, you could do it however you want. And then I think his plan was to have the two places, I guess, separate, like just wholesale by itself and then Monterey just by itself too. And, but I think both places always worked well together. So I think that's why we never really separated them. Wholesale was doing great during the busy weeks, but in the winter, it wasn't so busy, but then the retail was really busy. So during the holidays, so everything was just a one well-oiled machine, I guess, together,
Yeah, I mean,
combined.
right. And cost-wise, it was such a smart move because they, you know, Monterey at 2,800 and Seaside, which is only what, 2 miles down the road?
Yes, about. Mhm.
Yeah. The rent's the same for 9,000 square feet as it is in Monterey downtown for 2,800 square feet. So now you've got, you know, it was such a smart move to do all that. So
A lot of economies of scale.
yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite part of operations? What do you like doing the best?
I loved interacting with the customers in the front. The last few years, I was very busy in the back with all the in-house accounting, bookkeeping, and whatnot. So I wasn't out there as much, but just, you know, going in the front just quickly to grab something and see the customers and interact with them. Also, the day-to-day, as much as I was calling it whack-a-mole. So every day you come in and, you know, there was something else to deal with. And as soon as I would take care of that, put out the fire, then something else would come up. But, you know, finding new stuff for the wholesale too, just the challenge of everything. The employees also could be very challenging sometimes, but at the end of the day, you know, everybody was happy and it was fair to deal with them, I guess. So.
And you were running those operations from 2003, is that correct? No?
Yes.
Later.
Well, Seaside, mainly Seaside, yes.
Yeah.
Monterey, it was on and off. Monterey, I would just swing by, grab the paperwork, do some of the scheduling, definitely purchasing. So I would do all the orders of both locations. So
Right. So your dad's
my
baking at
Monday
night.
was
Yeah, your dad and the team are baking at night. You're the boss for 20 years.
about. Yes, but I mean, he was still the boss. Dealing with European men's and yeah, he was the best.
Dealing with European what? Men?
Men's, yeah.
Well, that includes you, Keith.
It does. I don't know what that means. Dealing with. Okay.
That's cool. So Vivianne, the growth of the business was, from my perception, was largely due to your involvement in the business. And so how does your management style differ from your father's involvement in the business? I sense there's a dramatic difference in how you, you know, oversee things.
Yes. So I learned over the years to do things the right way, I guess, and treating people fair. Also, my dad was very more tough love kind of thing. So he would do things differently. He, you know, I guess people would kind of be scared of him because, you know, if it wasn't Jackie's way, then, you know, it would not work. But I learned to be, I would say, more fair and flexible, especially with all the employees. You have to kind of give and take, but also, I would look at all the good side of everyone. So, and I would be very consistent with things. So when they would, you know, for example, the raises, I wouldn't wait for people to come up to me and ask for a raise. I was like, okay, you know, you deserve a raise, or I would pay attention. I never hired somebody for their resume. I hired for their attitude. And I would always, people would right away ask off the bat, how much am I going to make? And I'm like, well, show me what you could do first, and then we'll see. And so, and there was so many people that if you would look at a resume, you would not hire them. And I always give them a chance. And they had so much potential. And then I would tell them, you know, good job, and really reward them, not just with the pay, but also with the way I would interact with them. And I was very hands-on too. My dad was hands-on with the baking, and his way and his perfectionist of everything of the business made it that successful. For me, for the employees and for the customers. So he always said yes to the customers, and I always said yes, but. So we would say yes, and then we would change ways. So then it wasn't him always working many, many hours. I mean, he was for sure, but I would really try to regulate everything so the customers would be happy, also the employees would be happy at the end.
Interesting. So how did your difference in philosophies mesh between you and your father? Did you have a compatible, ongoing, happy, open communicative relationship, or did you have your challenges from times to time, which I'm sure, and that was inevitable?
Well, I think my father saw me more as his daughter, quite a bit. I mean, I think my whole career, my dad was my boss, but then I was his daughter. So there was some bumping heads, because I would, he would want it his way. And I noticed that after a few years, well, his way used to work because of how things used to be in the past, especially legal wise. The fairness of things also, how you would run, especially I did everything in-house. So I learned a lot of the laws with employees, HR, and whatnot. So we would bump heads sometimes. He was like, just do it this way. And I was like, no, we actually have it to do it this way. But then as far as the baking, he was the mastermind with my uncle and, all the amazing bakers. So there was some bumping heads for sure. Yes, but at the end, I think he kind of gave me carte blanche. So I just kind of, did it my way. And sometimes I would ask him his opinion, and he was like, well, it's your place. It's you decide, you decide. I'm like, no, I need to know. What do you want to do? No, it's okay. It's okay. You decide.
Wow. Well, that was a testament to his confidence in you, obviously, by giving you authority to basically make all the decisions. He obviously respected you. And so your history preceded yourself. That's great. So what are your key management strengths, and how do these strengths contribute to building a successful business?
I feel managing people. So I had amazing managers. They were with me for over 20 years, for 15 to 20 years, some of them. And I was always hands-on. So I would let them do the way they would want, but I would also ask them, or they would ask me my opinion, and I would say, well, I would do it this way, but what do you think? So especially at the end, I really wanted to teach them how to run the bakery without me, I guess. And but I feel my management style, and once again, I'm repeating myself with as far as being fair, is I would be proactive in everything I did rather than wait that, like I said, I would play whack-a-mole quite a bit. So just being proactive, being involved in their life, and, showing up every day. Being a manager, it's hard, but it also has so many rewards, because they would come up to me, all the employees or management, and would express their needs or their feeling about things. And then I would be able I would scratch their back, and then they would scratch my back by showing up and really be there for me, for the bakery. The last day when I was done with training the new owner, I sent a message individually to most of the employees, and the response, sorry, getting a little emotional, was pretty amazing. Just knowing that, I mean, even to this day, I know that I could call 90% of them and they would be here for me.
Nice.
So I know that I was there for them and their family, also getting to know them and whatnot. So I feel that the customers knew that we were there for them, but the employees, and that we were a team. So it felt
Very
good.
nice. Very nice.
And at what point in time did Jackie see you not just as his daughter, I say not just, but his daughter, to a partner daughter? When did you become a partner in the overall business?
I think all along, but little by little. So each little job that he would throw at me, I think just by doing deliveries and doing the account receivable and the account payable, I think it wasn't just like, okay, we're going to have you just do everything. It was started in high school, just taking care of the front. And I mean, a lot of his perfectionist traits, he passed it down to me. So I think that a lot of things that I learned all along, I think he started seeing that I would do things his way without doing it his way, I guess, and realizing, oh, it actually works that way. So I think putting his faith into me as we went along with different jobs. So I would go and do delivery, which that one was a hard one. Waking up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to start delivering at 4 was fun. But I think that he saw as we came along, and definitely in 2003, when they said, you know what, why don't we start doing everything in-house and have you do everything? And just for me, learning from not having any accounting or bookkeeping background, I guess, just figure it out on my own.
And you became a legal partner in the entity, though, didn't you? He actually
Yeah.
granted you legal status.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that was how far back? I mean, roughly.
I think it was between the time that I was the general manager, so between 98 when we started taking care of wholesale, and I probably around 2000. I don't recall the exact year, but I think
Because I never met Jackie. I only ever met you.
yes.
Okay.
He was the knight, I guess.
Yeah.
So, Vivianne, I'm sure you had many humorous events during the history of the business, and would you mind sharing a few of those with us?
Oh, let's think. I think I just mentioned one to Keith a couple of days ago, but now I have.
Oh, local bakeries asking to borrow shortening or something like that?
Yes. So yes, it has to do with kind of, we had some customers. So there's a lot of bakeries in Monterey Peninsula, and we kind of scratch each other's back too. So when somebody needs flour or we're out of something, we call each other, and we always help each other with a bag of flour or something. So one day, this bakery, not a French bakery, but this bakery came in and said, hey, could we borrow some shortening? And at the time I had no clue what shortening was. And I was like, well, what's shortening? And they're like, well, the Crisco stuff, the hard stuff. And I was like, ooh, yeah, no, we don't have that, but we have butter. We have lots of butter. If you want, you can borrow butter. So, I mean, to this day, I've always been, amused by when people say, oh, shortening. I'm like, yeah, no, we don't have that. Just real ingredient, real stuff.
Sure. Yeah, you were the real deal, no question.
Yes.
Yeah. So after all this time, 39 years, why did you and the family decide it's time to hang up your aprons and retire and sell?
So I think, so my dad always had this philosophy of, sorry, if I work really hard, one day I'm going to be able to enjoy it. And I think my dad worked really, really hard, but I don't know that he was ever going to hang his apron. So COVID hit, and he realized, wow, everything I worked for, I might just, lose it all. Or, the scare of, the just getting COVID and not making it. But his business that he worked so hard for, and his philosophy of, oh, one day I will retire and I will enjoy myself. And I don't know that he did that a lot. So when COVID hit, he said, you know what, I think that we should sell it. And he said, actually, no, before that, he said, he asked me if I wanted to take it over. And I said, well, let me think about it. And I thought of it. And I was actually pregnant at the time with my son. And it kind of made me, I worked really, really hard when I had my 2 first daughters. And so I didn't get to enjoy them as much. And it was a surprise that I was pregnant with my son. And he said, well, come on, you need to tell me, I'm going to give it to you. You don't have to worry about anything. And I said, let me think about it. So I thought of it and I said, I didn't get to enjoy my children. So I think I might get this time again, maybe to, do over and try to enjoy this little guy. And also, I think the biggest part was that I couldn't imagine myself running it without him. So I felt it was his legacy. And I felt that I could run it for him, but I didn't want to be my legacy. So yeah, that's
Wow.
when we decided to, well, he decided to sell. And yeah.
Wow,
Sorry.
got it.
Then I'm emotional.
So COVID sort of shined the light in terms of your future.
Correct.
And I know COVID created many challenges for you. Just what were some of the highlight challenges that you had to deal with going through COVID?
Well, all the hotels were empty. All the restaurants could only do takeout. So our wholesale went from being very successful to, it was down 57%. So it was very hard. Also, we couldn't keep everybody, all the employees. We didn't need 3 drivers. We didn't need all the bakers and whatnot. So one of the things that we decided, since I had a lot of employees that were there for a long time, we decided to rotate the employees. We kept just, the very dedicated that were there with us, and the main, I guess, I wouldn't say puppet master, but the main bakers, the one that knew, and we rotated all their schedules. So we actually kept quite a bit of our people too. One of the things that we did was we started Paris Bakery on Wheel, and customers would call in or email us the orders that they would want. And instead of them coming in, we would go to we would have a location every day. So on Monday it would be Pacific Grove, and Tuesday it would be Monterey, and different location throughout the Monterey Peninsula. And people would just show up to our van, and we would have their order ready, and they would just grab the order from the van. We didn't really have contact with them, but so that was really successful. And having stuff ready, all takeouts and to-goes, like all our sandwiches and whatnot, we were able to get everything ready to go for the customers.
Wow, what a challenge.
Yeah.
Tell us about your husband.
My husband is he's a police chief in Seaside. So we worked in the same city. I do have a funny story about that. So when I met my husband, which was in 2002, he actually was in the police academy, and but he would work at Bruno's Market, which is a very successful deli / supermarket. And so I would call in to get their bread order for the next day, and he's the one who would always give it to me. And we didn't put 2 and 2 together until after a few dates. And so anyway, yes, but then he graduated from the police academy and started full-time in Seaside, and he's actually been there since 2003. So yeah.
That's great.
Cool.
That's great.
So Vivianne, what are your plans for the future?
So I would like to take a year off just to enjoy my kids. I mean, my husband's very happy that I don't have to deal with the bakery on the day-to-day. And so I'm going to be a wife and a mom for about a year. My son's going to start kindergarten soon, so I'm sure I won't stay away from working too long. But I do enjoy doing bookkeeping. And when I go into a place, for example, a restaurant or any business, I sit there and my husband laughs at me because I'm always like, oh, they should work on this, or they should do this and that. So maybe some consulting in the future. I do like the finance, also helping maybe people get out of debt and stuff. I have a pretty good, I guess, system and whatnot. So maybe do that in the future.
Oh, cool. Keith, any concluding remarks there?
I really just want to say, out of all my clients in the last 18 years since I've been brokering restaurants, and 12 with Steve, you've been such a pleasure to work with. It was amazing, because I would ask you for you're so numerous. So I'd ask you for numbers. I'd ask you for tax returns. I'd ask you P&Ls to date. To date, they were including yesterday. It wasn't just, they weren't 2 months old. They were 24 hours old.
Wow.
I wanted an update. You did the last, you added the last 2 weeks to that. Anything I asked you about, it was immediate. And that really made my life so much easier. I knew it. I know it took a few buyers to finally find the right one, but we did. And I still owe you a dinner, I'm sure. Whenever I see you.
That's cool. Cool. Yeah, you got to have a croissant with that dinner, though, to make it complete.
Almond croissant. One other thing about the almond croissant I forgot to say is the reason why also it was amazing is the only thing that we bake all day. So you could come at 10 o'clock or noon. That's the only one. We just make it as we go. So they bake it and you'll have right out of the oven hot almond croissant. So,
that sounds great. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, Vivianne, I want to thank you very much for the very informative presentation, and I want to wish you and your family much best wishes for continued success in everything you do. And I also want to thank you, Keith, for the terrific job you did in handling this transaction, and of course, for your great participation today. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you, Vivianne, for consulting, bookkeeping, financial advice, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
I think the bakery email, I still have the, traditional
Would you
bakery email.
tell us what it is?
It's Paris Bakery at sbcglobal.net.
Okay, great. And Keith, I know you don't like new business, but just in case you want to get some new business, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
I love lots of new business. Yes, my email is keith@restaurantrealty.com or my cell number 530-545-2451.
Great.
Welcome anybody.
Okay, thank you. So our future deal maker co-hosts for the remainder of the year are going to include next month Joey Altman, who is the chef, restaurateur, culinary director, and a television host on Food Network. And he's actually hosted over 600 episodes and has basically hosted over 100 guest chefs. He's currently the culinary director and executive chef of Hazy's and Brixton in San Francisco. In October, Scott Greenberg, who is a former multi-unit franchisee of Edible Arrangements, he's also a keynote speaker, and he's the author of 2 books, The Shift Show and The Wealthy Franchisee. In November 21st, Brandon Robinson, he's the CEO of Tipsy Putt, which is a Northern California multi-chain of mini putt golf courses with pubs. And Brandon was also the founder of Soul Med Spa. And in December, Jeremy Brockman, who is our marketing director, and a good number of our RRC associates, including Keith and myself, will be hosting the show, sort of a recap of the year, and with a lot of good humor. And we'll be announcing our lineup of Restaurant Dealmaker co-hosts in 2025 in the near future. I want to thank you all for joining us today. And if you want to get in touch with me, I can be reached at steve@restaurantrealty.com, or I can be reached toll-free at 888-9701. Again, thank you very much, Vivianne and Keith. And everyone out there, take care of yourself, take care of others, and stay well. Take care. Thank you.